0.3 of a second. That was the difference between Olympic gold and Olympic heartbreak in the women's 200-meter breaststroke. Every athlete in that race performs and trains at an elite level that mere mortals like you and I can only dream of. And Olympians train not just to excel in their sport, but to have the ultimate edge in those final tenths and hundredths of a second that are the difference between Olympic gold and Olympic heartbreak. Where does that edge come from? How can you train to precision to the hundredths of a place? Is it spending more hours than you and I can dream of in a gym? Is it having the best diet possible, the best sleep, the best nutrition, the best recovery, the best mental skills? Maybe if you're a swimmer, manifesting shark skin? Okay, not quite that last one, but you kind of get where I'm coming from. Increasingly, it's not just those things. It's not just training for the generalness of the sport. The rise of precision training means that increasingly Olympians are getting an edge from analytics, AI, and big data. But one member of Team USA had the ultimate advantage. Not shark skin, not being Katie Ledecky's secret doppelganger, but something even better. She's a statistician. The winner of this 200-meter Olympic gold breaststroke was American Kate Douglas. And her knowledge of science, math, physics, and data helped her get that gold medal. And the coolest part of this was that at the Tokyo Olympics, she wasn't even a breaststroker. She went, but she competed in different events. She was good, better than you and I would have been, but she wasn't good enough to win gold. Her use of STEM and data analysis in particular helped her realize that she had the athletic capacity to be a world-class breaststroker. She just had to make adjustments in her form to get there. So how did she do this? Let's find out. So before we dive deep into the data, no pun intended, we need to understand a bit more about how both the physics and physiology of swimming works. Swimming is different than a lot of other sports because you're in the water and not on land, like, duh. But what this means is that the forces acting on a body trying to move through water are very different than the forces acting on a body moving through land. On land, the force you're trying to overcome if you're doing any movement, whether you're taking a nice long romantic walk to the fridge or running 100 meters in a brisk 9 seconds, is gravity. Let's do a tiny experiment. Let's imagine you were walking, but for the purposes of this experiment, you are only going to walk on one foot. Now, I know this isn't what you do every day, but let's just pretend for argument's sake. What this means, if you're only going to walk on one foot, is that gravity is going to pull your center of mass down until you fall. Except this isn't what happens when you walk on 2 feet. What happens when you walk on 2 feet is your other leg will counteract this gravitational force and pull you forward and pull you upright and keep you moving and hopefully not falling. This tug of war with gravity is thanks to Newton's third law of equal and opposite reactions. This explains how we do everything on 2 feet, whether it's running, whether it's spiking a volleyball, whether it's playing soccer, constantly competing against gravity to move and to stay upright. But when we swim, we aren't on 2 feet, so we're not opposing gravity. Instead, you are prone and you're trying to apply forces through the water. So why aren't we fighting gravity in the pool? Like, we have to avoid sinking somehow, and that's gravity, right? Well, yes. But the reason we don't automatically sink in a pool is because humans have near neutral buoyancy. This means that the amount of water they displace when they're in the pool is nearly equal to their body weight, so they can float. Sinking isn't an inevitability, so you can move through the water. This is very different than moving on land, where if you didn't do anything to counteract gravity, you'd fall. So in order to move in the pool, the force you have to counteract isn't gravity, it's something else. So what is this something else? It's drag force. Drag forces are a type of frictional forces that oppose motion. It rises from the pressure differential across a body as it moves through friction. In this case, it's water in a swimming pool. And the friction acts across the surface of a body. Therefore, these forces acting over the entire length of the body oppose the body's motion. This is what you have to overcome to move while you're swimming in a pool. Drag force is invisible, and it is the foe of every Olympic swimmer. It's a lot easier to conceptualize than you might think. If you went ahead and moved your hands and arms and legs around like you were swimming through air, you wouldn't face that much resistance. Because air is a gas and it has a relatively low density and a relatively low viscosity or resistance to force when a body is moving through it. It doesn't do a lot to oppose motion. Liquids, on the other hand, have a higher viscosity and a higher density, meaning they do more to resist movement. It will take much more to overcome the resistance from the friction and the mass present in the water than it does in the air. To move as quickly as possible through the water, you need to exert a force greater than this drag force to move forward. If you're an Olympian and you want to win gold and be the fastest swimmer in the world, you have to exert this counteracting force in a maximally efficient and consistent way. Mathematically, drag force is 1/2 the density of the water, the velocity of the swimmer's body, so it's change in position with respect to time, this will come back later, its drag coefficient, which is different for everyone, and the area of the swimmer's body. This derivation of the formula comes from multivariable calculus, and if you want to see me do multivariable calculus in a future video, so hit that subscribe button, drop me a comment, let me know. Everything a swimmer does is to reduce the drag force on their body. That swimmer's build, we have broad shoulders and a tiny waist and tinier legs, is to counteract this drag force. Since your shoulders are the part of your body that's propelling you forward through the water, they have to be the strongest part of your body to counteract the drag exerted on the lower half of your body. You want the lower half of your body to be strong and to be efficient in the pool, but you don't want it to take up the most area because that means more drag forces can act upon that area of your body than your shoulders, which are moving you forward and counteracting that. How does the swimmer overcome this drag force other than having the best possible swimsuit and the best possible build to be a swimmer? It's force, and the force that propels the swimmer forward is the product of mass times acceleration. Mass of the swimmer is constant throughout the race. What you actually have to really hone in on to understand your form and how you're racing is your acceleration. So how do we do this? Cameras, stopwatches, coaches? That is so 2019. It's 2024, the nerds are going for gold now, and we can do a lot better than that. The best way to measure acceleration is to use an accelerometer, which is usually strapped around the swimmer's waist. The accelerometer is equipped with a gyroscope, so it can measure changes in position. Because we weren't having enough fun already, we also put sensors on the swimmer's hands and feet to capture movement in all 3 dimensions. Now this together, along with underwater cameras, because we have to be able to actually see what the body is doing relative to the forces and acceleration of the body, can capture either the force of the swimmer's body that is moving it forward or the drag force that is slowing it down. So how do we apply the science? So you're probably thinking, I haven't shut up about forces and water and viscosity and acceleration. How does this help a statistician? Like, this isn't statistics, right? Well, you are right, but we have to understand these forces in order to do the statistics upon it. So how do we quantify these forces and how do we actually apply the science to dig down into the data to understand how to win gold? So once a swimmer is fitted with their accelerometers, they go through a battery of tests. So they would go through all of the races they would most commonly do in the pool, and so you would use this to establish line motion and accelerations in all 3 dimensions. This means every splash, every kick, every breath can be quantified, analyzed, and learned from, so you can have a complete view of their form in order to understand how to improve it. Data is then transformed into vector fields is to help visualize the forces in all 3 dimensions. You see the forces that are moving you towards gold and the forces that are holding you back from gold. What all of this data does is not just like be a bunch of numbers in a computer that no one understands. What data does is act as a second set of eyes to truly quantify the forces acting upon a swimmer, so you can then go determine form, race strategy, and areas for improvement. A trained eye can do a lot, but it can't tell you that if you move your head 2 centimeters, you're going to go this much faster. So knowing these forces changes everything. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of coaching and a lot of guesswork out of the equation for the athlete as well. This is really important because an athlete's biomechanics are as unique as they are. And while general principles of training for the sport can get you into that race and get you competing on an elite level, it's not what's going to help you make those final adjustments so you can get those final tenths and hundredths of a second. You have to know how to leverage your unique body to get there. Something that a digital twin is uniquely set up to do because it's looking at your unique biomechanics, not how much you are deadlifting, you are sleeping, or how many hours you put in the pool to train. That's training for the generalness of the sport rather than the specificness of the athlete. Kate Douglas knows all about this. In November 2020, Douglas had her digital twin compiled. And what this identified was she had the athletic capability to be a world champion breaststroker, but her form needed a lot of work. 3 years of work to be specific. And what this digital twin revealed was that for Douglas, and not necessarily for anyone else, she had to make small changes to her head position to make her form more efficient. Douglas, her swim coach at UVA, and her professor, Dr. Ken Ono, who was the technical lead on this project, learned that changing her head position could help her save between a 10th and a 15th of a second per streamline. And since there are 4 streamlines in the women's 200-meter breaststroke, this meant that it could save her between 4/10 and 6/10 of a second, or more than her margin of victory. So data-informed precision training was the difference. It is how she won gold. So how exactly could they quantify the head position? How could they look at all this data and go, it's head? It's not your feet, it's not how you're breathing, it's not your hands. This is all due to that acceleration data that I mentioned earlier. So a little bit more math is at play. So force is mass times acceleration. And like I previously mentioned, the mass of the swimmer is constant throughout the race. So we are left with acceleration. So what does acceleration tell us? It's how velocity is changing. And this means that the integral of acceleration is the derivative of velocity, or the change in position with respect to time. So when we use a computer to integrate this acceleration data, which is much easier for a computer to do than a human to do, we can see how small changes in body position can change race time. So while Douglas may have needed to lower her head to get gold, that's what the velocity and acceleration data was telling them, somebody else might have had to do something completely different. They might have had to change their breathing patterns, change the angle their hand is hitting the water. There's more than one way to use this data to precision train. You are trying to use you to become the best version of you. This is just the Olympics version of it. This is to say that training doesn't matter. It matters a lot. It's what gets you on that race and performing at an elite level. Countless hours in the gym and in the pool and having the best nutrition and sleep and recovery and mental skills are all important. That's not going anywhere. Each body is different. Each stroke, each splash, each spike, each breath, each dolphin kick is going to look different on you depending on your own unique body and own unique biomechanics. Training for the generalness of the sport cannot capture this, but precision training using data analytics can capture this. So does this work? In short, yes. Ever since UVA has implemented this in the 2020 through 2021 season of collegiate swimming, they've been dominant ever since. They've broken lots of world records and won lots of collegiate titles along the way. If you watch the Olympics, UVA swimmers were everywhere. Everyone who went to the Tokyo Olympics won a medal, Paris as well. Even the Australians, who despite their aversion to cowbells, also use similar systems to maximize performance inside of the pool. What does this mean for the future and even for LA 2028? That we have a new set of tools to drive athletic performance forward. We didn't have this in 2008 when Michael Phelps was winning every gold medal in Beijing. Now, while he was probably a human designed in a lab to be a swimmer and to have whose body probably reacted best to the general principles of training for the sport, there was no big data analytics like we had today to quantify hand position, dolphin kicks, breathing, and head position. This means that we could have had an even better Michael Phelps 16 years ago, and also competition who might have understood how to better leverage their biomechanics to beat someone like Michael Phelps. So it means we're going to have a very new chess match going on in any kind of athletic competition where you're learning how to leverage your body to be the best in the world. Doesn't mean that we're gonna have a bunch of AIs competing in the Olympics in the pool, or that every coach, every nutritionist, every trainer is going to be out of a job. That's categorically insane. Advances in nutrition and training and building muscles and having the best possible understanding of the sports science behind this isn't going anywhere. It's what gets you on the podium. It's what gets you performing at an elite level. We're just trying to help the people performing at the most elite level be the best in the world. Mortals like you and I who don't train like Olympians can't go strap on an accelerometer, swim a few laps in the pool, and then go win Olympic gold. That's crazy, even though I kind of want to do it. These athletes can leverage this technology better than anyone because they're already competing at a level that exceeds what anyone else can do. What we have is we have an ability to quantify and learn and understand from forces that were previously invisible. We can understand what we can't see, and that is going to continue to drive performance forward. It is something our forefathers could probably prove mathematically, but didn't have the advanced analytics technology like a digital twin to do. In order to describe the tangible impacts of all of these forces acting on a human body performing at an elite level. We can do so much more than have near neutral buoyancy and exert force greater than the drag force holding us back. We have a clear, precise, quantified way to explain how we can get our body to perform at the best level possible. And the exciting part about this is that it's only going to get better between now and the LA Olympics in 2028. Advances in processing power and data analytics and AI and machine learning and technology aren't going anywhere. We're going to have even better tools for years from now. So what this means is that there's a lot of really interesting and really exciting changes on the horizon between now and LA 2028. And we should all be really excited for that. Thanks everyone. Did you like this video? Let me know. Drop me a comment, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe button. I already miss the Olympics so much. Like TV is so boring now. So if you want to see more of like vicariously reliving the Olympics, let me know. Drop me that comment. Help this channel grow. Help check the algorithm to help this channel grow. Thanks everyone. I'll see you soon.